Hello Udemy, I'm Shazad Ahmad from Shekzi.com and welcome in lecture number 3rd. Today we are going to explain the main concepts which is required for this course. Of course, I'm talking about MVC, Model View Controller. So if you are not familiar with design pattern, don't worry, I'm going to explain each and everything, and we are going to talk about how Codeigniter URL works. So first of all, go to your Codeigniter because we have deleted the user guide sections from the setup. Read the user guide online. Okay, so now I'm saying how URL works. They are saying this is the example.php news article. So not worry, I'm going to explain each and everything. First of all, we are going to talk about MVC. What is MVC? MVC stands for Model View Controller. So Model View and Controller. Okay, or controller. So what that mean? First of all, you can create your business logics, or you can embed your business logics inside your model. In simple words, whenever you want to access your database, you want to update or you want to insert, or you want to fetching the records from the database, you always create the separate file for suppose my model.php, and you have to keep that file inside your models section, and you have to write the business logics, or in simple words the queries for suppose insert, update, delete in this model. Okay, so what is view? Whenever you want to create the layout of your websites, in simple words your HTML content, you always write your HTML code inside your view. Okay, the controller is a navigator. Make sure your model cannot communicate directly with your view, or your view cannot communicate with your model. Whenever someone access your websites for suppose xyz.com, that means a particular user is want to access your websites. Okay, so your controller handle that request. Okay, then if you are connected with database, it can send the query to the database. For suppose you are going to fetch some information from the database and you want to show the user. After the fetching the data which is required from the database, you can populate or you can show all of the data to your user. For suppose whenever I type shekzi.com, so you can see I have a lot of data here, our courses, our online courses, and our blogs. So I'm fetching all the data from the database, and I'm showing all the data at this page. That means if someone access these websites, your controller is receiving the request and sending the required data. For suppose your controller send the instruction to the model, oh please find the necessary tables, and you are showing the results at your here. So this is your home controller. Okay, just a second, I'm going to show you home controller. So this is about MVC. So whenever you want to create a HTML file, you have to keep that HTML file inside your view, and whenever you want to create your controller, you always keep that controller inside your controllers folder, and whenever you want to create a model, then you have to keep that model inside your models folder. You can see, as you can see, you have your application folder. So open your application folder, you have your controllers, models, and views. Okay, so keep your controllers inside your controllers folder, keep your models inside your model folder, keep your views inside your views folder. Okay, so now let's talk about URL. I already told you that I consider you have the basic knowledge of object-oriented programming. So you have a class first of all in your object-oriented approach, and then you have a separate methods. For suppose I'm saying public function method 1. You have different type of methods. For suppose I'm saying public function method 2, and in this time you are receiving the parameter here 1. Okay, for suppose if you have another method function, and I'm saying method 3, and in this time you are receiving 2 parameters here. Okay, just hold on, I'm going to explain each and everything. 2 and for suppose 3. So in this time I'm saying you are receiving 2 parameters here. So how Codeigniter URL works? First of all, your index.php file, then your controller, then your method, then your argument. So in this way your Codeigniter URL works. If I am saying index.php, I hit the button, you can see it's accessing the home controller, and if I am saying home, you can see it's also working fine. Whenever I type method, or suppose method 1, so method 1 is not exist for now, so that's why it's saying 404 not found. So rule number 1, whenever you want to access your class, so this is your class, make sure your controller is your class. Whenever I say controller, that means I am talking about your controller, which is also a class. You can see you have a class, and whenever you want to access your class, that means you are saying, oh, please execute your index method. So whenever you are accessing your class, that means it always execute your index method. For suppose if you have another method function, and I'm saying method 1 for suppose, and now I'm saying it's not receiving any parameter, and here I'm saying method 1. So when you call this method, refresh the page, so in the second parameter, for suppose your class here, which is your controller, then your method, you can see you have your controller, they are saying you have your root, then your controller, then your article, and then your my article. That means they are saying this is the class. You can see they are saying this is the root, that means xyz.com. In this way I am saying ci fast, and they are saying class here, function here, id here. Id is the argument. So you can also read the documentation as well. Okay, so now if you want to access the method, I am saying method, hit the button, because this is a method 1. So you can see it's accessing this method. So if you want to, for suppose if you want to pass any argument in this method, so you can pass 5 here. Okay, so in this time it's not working because you are not accepting the argument here, for suppose argument, and now I'm saying the argument is this. So refresh the page, you can see it's saying 5. In this way your Codeigniter URL works. So you have covered how can your URL work, and you also know that how you can create your controllers, and you also know how can you pass your arguments, how can you receive your argument. But one thing, so I'm saying that the basic, welcome to Codeigniter, and they have the installations, Codeigniter overview, and Codeigniter flowchart. Okay, I'm talking about flowchart, just a second. Flowchart. Okay, so it's a flowchart how Codeigniter works. So you can see I have written the index.php file here, then class, then method, then argument. So they are saying index.php. So this index.php, you can find this index.php at the root of your project. Make sure. So this is your index.php. So this index.php can handle each and every record which is coming from your server. Okay, fine, you are receiving the index.php can receive your requests, then you are routing, and make sure you also know about the routing inside your config. So here is your routes. That means you are saying, oh please, by default controller is the home controller. Okay, then it checks the security first of all, then it can access your application controller, which is the home controller. Your controller can communicate with your model, libraries, helpers, plugins, and your script. And your model can view all the settings or all the data which is coming from the model, libraries, helpers. You can show that data to your views, and then you can see you have a caching mechanism, and I consider that you have the basic knowledge of the caching. So when the first request is served, your system cached your request. Whenever someone access the same file, you can see it's accessing it's calling the routing if the cache is exist, so your system can serve or misserve from the caching. So no need to check the security application and extra. So this is the overall or the basic overview how Codeigniter works, and how can you create your controllers, how can you interact with your routes, and what is the config. And make sure I'm going to talk about config folder. So you can go to your controller first of all, application, then you can find the config folder. In the config folder you have your config.php file. Make sure this is required. You have to place your base URL. So in this way, what is my base URL? Base URL is the root URL. For suppose my Codeigniter setup is exist inside CI fast directory. So this is my base URL. Copy this base URL and provide the base URL. So your Codeigniter knows that where is the root directory, where is the all files. Okay, so now so this is your index.php. In the next lecture I'm going to remove, leave it. I'm going to explain in my later lectures, and you can see you have your some other configuration, so leave it as it is. I will teach you each and everything. Okay, so now if you also have a autoload.php file. So what that mean, autoload.php file? First suppose, so here is the libraries and here is the helpers. So what are the libraries and what are the helpers? So in the next lecture I am going to explain the Codeigniter built-in libraries and the Codeigniter built-in helpers, so you can easily understand what's going on. And make sure I'm going to select the necessary or the required libraries, which is Codeigniter libraries and the helpers. Of course the Codeigniter is providing the built-in libraries and the helpers, so you can easily create or you can easily manage your web application or web sites using Codeigniter. So I think this is enough for today. In the next lecture we are going to cover many things. So thank you for watching.